Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Operation Committee meeting of May 19th. First off, we'll start with the land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I respectfully acknowledge on the behalf of the Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides in the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generation of people who's taken care of this land for thousands of years. Is with this statement, we honor and respect the Algonquins whose land we reside. Call to order. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I have one personally to declare on item 8C, as my employer is being awarded the tender, so I will have to be stepping away at that point. I'll let the mayor step in and take the chair. The meeting agenda tonight, we have a little bit of a change up. Before the, we'll start with the presentation for the mayor's award, then we're going to go to Mr. Lewis to present his water distribution. And then we're going to flip back to the presentation because the two are very tied together, the water distribution report and then the presentation. So could I have a mover for that? Councillor Keel, Councillor Purcell, those in favor? Approved. Thank you very much. Are there any, firstly, the approval of the minutes of April 21st? Councillor Petnay and Councillor Keel, those in favor? Approved. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, I'll turn over to the mayor for the first presentation, the mayor's award.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. It's my sincerest pleasure this evening to present to you a Mayor's Award for a very deserving resident of Pembroke. The City of Pembroke and the entire community is fortunate to have many caring, dedicated, and faithful individuals who contribute each in their own way to the fabric of what is the City of Pembroke. Today, we acknowledge someone who embodies the true spirit of a person from Pembroke and area, which is Deacon Adrian, who's in the audience with us this evening. My earliest recollection of Deacon Adrian is when I sat on the Marion Hill Board of Directors and I was thinking about it tonight, is about 20 years ago. And we were both on the Board of Directors at Marion Hill providing, sage advice in a loving, caring fashion, because as you can imagine, Marion Hill being a senior center, you're dealing with individuals who are the most vulnerable, and you're trying to make appropriate decisions as a board of directors, recognizing who is the end individual that we're trying to provide care for. And so over the years, Deacon Adrian and I have had the benefit of working, I'll say working together. There's been a number of instances where there's been situations that have arisen where the public doesn't normally see, and I think that's what part of what this is about this evening. There's so many different instances where I'm aware of different things that you don't share it. You're dealing with individuals' private lives. They're dealing with challenging situations, and they clearly don't want their names put out there as to what they're dealing with. And it's working together, depending upon what the situation is and what it calls for, to assist those different individuals in trying times. And that's when Deacon Adrian shines. And I know from my various dealings with the community at large over the years that Deacon Adrian, you've been instrumental in sharing your talents with so many different individuals and never looking for any limelight. In fact, shying away from limelight, just truly trying to assist different individuals who needed help, and those individuals might be individuals that you might look at and maybe they're really down on their luck, so to speak, but it's also professionals, it's other individuals that in life you never know what someone is going through, you never know what someone's dealing with, and thankfully some know to reach out, or their family members or friends know to reach out and ask for that assistance, so as to receive that assistance without going down a path that certainly none of us want to go down. And so, Deacon Adrian, you exemplify the best of a member of the City of Pembroke and our community. You exhibit all that is good of the citizens of our beautiful community, and for that, as the Mayor of the City of Pembroke, I feel it's important to recognize you today. I want to thank you for all that you do for our community, and that despite certain efforts, I and others do see what you do, and that you truly care for all those different individuals. And it's just the list would go on as to all the different impacts you've made, whether it be, as I said, some are more overt than others, such as the food bank or what have you, but some is things that you know, I know from receiving, sometimes making phone calls to you, because I know sometimes when there's different individuals that it's not, they don't need a lawyer. They're looking for different types of assistance, and it's just as impactful, if not more impactful, to assist those different individuals with those different things. And so if I could call upon you to come up for a moment, Deacon Adrian. So it's truly a privilege this evening to present you with this Mayor's Award, presented to Deacon Adrian with sincere gratitude and appreciation for demonstrating genuine compassion to those in need, and thank you for your generous and caring heart. The older I get, the more I got to wear glasses to see what it says. So I just wanted to present you with that.
Thank you so much.
And then there's one fellow that that I've formed a friendship with, is this fellow, and I think we all know him, Massimo, and he takes beautiful pictures of the city of Pembroke, and he's autographed a book for you. But so that no matter where you are and so forth, you can see the beautiful splendor of the city of Pembroke, because I know you truly care about our community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Is it possible to say a couple of words?
Most certainly.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say a great thank you, Mayor and Council. This is, it's hard for me because, as I always say, I'm just a wee servant of the Lord doing His work. And I am so grateful to receive this award tonight on behalf of all those who volunteer in this city. There are so many people who give each and every day their heart and soul just completely to serving the people in this community. So I want to receive it on behalf of all those in our community. Our community is richer for all those who volunteer here. You know, it's amazing when we continue to work together. I always say together we can accomplish great things. And I know that over the years we've all worked together here at this council and this community trying to take good care of all those who are in need, because there are so many in need. I've had the opportunity to be here in this community serving the people here for the last 22 years, starting in 2004 with Salvation Army, helping to form St. Vincent de Paul. And in 2019, when Salvation Army left, I called upon Mr. Jerry Novak, and with the Clergy Association, we were helped to make sure that meals were kept in place for 7 days a week and the needs of the people of our community were met, because no one should be left behind. Everyone is so very important. And so together we can accomplish those great things. And today I stand in front of you and with all the people of our community. We always say that Pembroke is the heart of the valley. Let's continue to keep it beating with love, compassion, and dignity and respect for each person as we continue to go forward. So thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of this community. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership. Thank you, Council, for all that you're doing. We do it together. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, that just fits in there. That goes with that.
Thank you. Thank you. once
You're
again.
welcome. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay, so I will extend the offer. You do not have to stay at the rest of council if you would like to exit. You certainly may now.
Okay, we'll make our depart, but thank you so much again.
Good.
Once again, and thank you for all that you're doing. God bless you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so moving with our schedule, we're going to move on to first up for new business, Mr. Lewis with water distribution level of service, and then we'll go back to the presentation with the.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is for committee information, and our consultants, Associated Engineering, will be providing a brief review of the fire flows report following my staff report. So some background. As part of the ongoing infrastructure needs study and the 20-year facility plans that we're doing for the treatment plants, a review of level of service is being conducted. The INS and the facility plans will help build capital plans for maintaining and operating the existing infrastructure and help to guide the system expansion and upgrades for future growth, both in the City of Pembroke and the Township of Laurentian Valley. With the water reservoir and water system expansion project at the Quarry Reservoir, required capacity of the system is also being reviewed and considered. The level of service review as it relates to fire flow will help guide the city in setting capacity amounts that will provide for growth, but not hinder operational performance and compliance within the system. So, some discussion. If we provide capacity volumes and flows greater than the system needs for normal function, we'll need larger pipes, we'll need larger water storage, potentially larger water tower and storage, and potentially increased pumping capacities. That means increased capital costs in the magnitude of millions of dollars that wouldn't be needed for normal system use. Those costs would have to be passed on to the ratepayers, to the developers, and to the township users. Additionally, oversized water infrastructure within new developments may be required, and that increases the cost to the developers of those new subdivisions. Upsizing of existing water mains in infill developments may also be required, again increasing capital expenditures. So then we turn to water quality, and water quality can be another issue. If we increase the capacity and provide for larger flows above normal system needs, water flows inefficiently. This inefficiency can potentially reduce water quality, with less flows potentially having stagnant water in the system. So the operations department, with our consultants, Associated Engineering, intend to continue with the INS and facility plans with a target fire flow of 200 liters per second for 3 hours. Now, AE will present their slide deck, and then they will be available for answers to questions, should committee have any questions. And I'll let Zoe, I believe it's Zoe and Candace that are on screen with us, and I'll let them introduce themselves and walk through the presentation.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Wonderful. And can you see the screen?
we can.
Okay, perfect. We'll try to get rid of this. I guess I'll go first. My name is Candace Gottstein. Obviously, I work for Associated Engineering. I'm a senior water modeler out of our Edmonton office.
I'll go next. Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Comerton. I'm based in Ottawa with Associated Engineering. I'm the project manager for this overall study and facility plan. And happy to answer any questions on that after the presentation. And I'll pass it over to Zoe.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zoe Jarl. I'm a process designer and process coordinator at Associated, also based in Ottawa, and I've been supporting this project as well as doing project coordination for it.
Okay, great. Well, we'll proceed with the presentation then. So yes, today we're going to look at water system level of service and give you a brief overview. Hopefully this is going to move ahead. Okay, good. So water system level of service. So we're going to briefly look at what is level of service in terms of a water system, how does it relate to fire flow targets, and then how does it affect the storage volumes. So discussing level of service, what does it mean? It's how well the water system meets the needs and expectations of the user. So some of those needs and expectations are regulations, such as drinking water quality, but many others are subjective. When we look at the water distribution system, there's two key criteria that we look at. The first is pressure. So in terms of level of service, would be what is an appropriate amount of pressure to keep people happy. And secondly, fire flow. So what is an appropriate amount of fire flow dependent on each type of land use that you service. The level of service defines what customers can expect from the water system. So just like cell phone providers define coverage, reliability, and response. So in terms of cell phone providers, we can all imagine we're all cell phone users. For an acceptable level of service, we would expect that our calls, expect our calls aren't dropped, that we have coverage everywhere we go, that it works during emergency situations, and that if we have an issue, that we have a timely response. Doesn't always happen, but that's what we expect as users. In terms of a water system, we would expect that we have uninterrupted service, that we have good pressure for our homes and businesses, that we have adequate fire flow for the same, and that if there's an issue, it's dealt with in a timely manner as well. So why establish level service targets? Firstly, it allows the city to benchmark success. How well, like, how do you know if you're doing well if you haven't identified what you're trying to achieve? Secondly, it helps identify what you are aiming to provide. So in terms of asset management and design decisions. So if you can outline or establish what are the targets you're trying to achieve, you can apply them and your consultants can apply them every time you're looking at your design, your upgrades or extension. You have a clear and repeatable set of service targets. And then as well, it informs developers what they would be responsible for when developing a property. So what are the minimum service expectations? And then after you've gone through the exercise of establishing the level of service targets that are appropriate for your community, you've gone through all of this and established all of the key criteria, they can be formalized into engineering and development standards that can be available to all. So really the goal of this is to establish clear and consistent design and operating criteria that can be repeatable. So in terms of the proposed fire flows, we are looking at 60 liters per second for single family residential, 150 liters per second for multifamily, commercial, and institutional land uses, and 200 liters per second for industrial land use. So storage, calculating storage, there's a few different things that go into the calculation, but one of the really key components is the highest fire flow flow rate. So for this example, the highest would be 200 liters per second, and that based on the Ontario guidelines results in 3 hours worth of storage. So 200 liters per second for 3 hours duration is what would be required in terms of your fire flow storage component. And then we were really hoping to be able to compare these values to some of your neighbors. So you had a really comprehensive look of what other people are doing in your area, but we weren't able to find anything. So I guess it's just not readily available. And should you actually develop these, you may be first among your neighbors. So current fire flow level of service, the majority of locations meet the full fire flow target. So we have been using water model of your community and comparing 200 liters per second to 250 liter per second industrial fire flow. There are a few locations which would meet the 200 liter per second, but not the 250 liter per second target. And so adopting a 200 liter per second fire flow value would not affect the existing system operation. So we need to be really clear on that. Nothing changes today versus tomorrow should you select a level of service target for industrial fire flow of 200 liters per second. You still have the same capacity you have. And so that doesn't change. It's really looking towards the future and what you want to establish as a community moving forward. Now, achieving a higher level of service would be expected to cost more. So in order to achieve that 250 liter per second fire flow, it does mean that in some areas where we're not meeting it right now, upgrades could be required to increase that available fire flow. Larger pumps would be required, like moving forward. So if we want to achieve that throughout, larger water mains, larger pumps, and certainly larger storage requirements. So some considerations for thinking about reducing the industrial fire flow level of service is that we're looking to establish a suitable fire flow that'll meet most of the needs. We can't anticipate every developer out there and what they could require. We just want to hit the majority of those who will develop in your area. And so if a development does require more fire flow than your system can provide, developers can make changes to their building design. And the most effective change or addition is to include sprinkler system. That's a huge reduction in the fire flow requirements. But there's other things they can do as well. They can make the building smaller. They can look at different building materials. They can increase the separation between their buildings and others. So they do have some ability to change their fire flow requirements. And then for us, we see establishing these level of service criteria as being transparent. So it's been clear, accessible, you've thought it through, and you can provide it to others. So should you develop a very clear document and you've been very thoughtful and you've gone through this exercise of establishing your level of service targets, you can then communicate them. And so if someone was to come and want to develop and have higher fire flow requirements, you would be able to direct them to your level service targets and expect them to pay for any additional upgrades if there's something that they need in addition. So beyond the fire flow that you could provide. And then industrial fire flow storage considerations. So if selecting a lower fire flow value, it will reduce cost. So there's a significant difference in required storage volume, looking at 250 liter per second for 4 hours versus 200 liter per second at 3 hours duration. Reduces pumping rates because you do need to be able to provide your peak day demand plus your fire flow during a fire flow event. And reduces new water main sizes in some locations. Did you expand into new industrial development, and potentially upgrades if you want to meet that 200 or 250 liter per second requirement. So as Brian mentioned, excessive storage in your system, both in reservoirs and in your distribution system, and potentially an oversized main, the more volume of water you have, the longer it takes you as a community to consume it. So therefore the water is older and it decreases the water quality. So just to keep that in mind. And then really just to drive home again, changing the target does not affect the existing fire flow availability. It's more of a consideration in the sizing of future infrastructure. Yeah, and that's all we have. Do you have any questions?
Questions from the committee? Councillor Fennia.
Not really a question, just sort of a fact that I guess I just want. If our fire flow targets are good for us for right now, and we're meeting any goals that we have set, there's no reason to really change unless we're talking about building a big development of our own that we need to change the infrastructure for, right? Like the water mains and that. Correct?
Well, there could be considerations when you're looking at expansion of storage at Quarry Pump House, possibly a new water tower. I agree with you. Expansion of the system, what you're going to design for sure. So it's, to your point, short-term, agreed. There may be little to no change. It's more of a long-term planning target. May not affect you right now.
Right, and even if it did affect us, the developer could make modifications to their design so that we don't have to make much changes to our flow rate, correct? Like you said, sprinklers and things. So I'm just looking at, I'm just looking at from the city's perspective. We don't have a lot to expand outside our boundaries. Maybe we do need to replace some water mains, and maybe we do need to upgrade certain facilities. But when it comes to running water mains way outside our boundaries, those costs should be borne by the developers, correct?
If they're developing those properties, generally that's what.
And tapping into our service, exactly. Okay, thank you very much.
That's right.
Councillor Purcell.
I know I've been asking these questions for probably the last 3 years, but we don't even have, in terms of municipal water pressure, we don't have set targets in terms of that we're meeting the requirements of our residents. So I've had numerous calls and actually visits in certain different areas of the city where you can't even, if you put a kid's toy on the grass with a garden hose, it wouldn't even operate. That's how low the pressure is. I think it's less than 20 pounds per PSI. So if you're talking 60 liters per second, it's an equivalent of 60 PSI is the equivalent pressure based on Google AI here. So I'm confused why we don't have for our residents, but we have it for fire services. And, when you're talking, that's a lot of water. Even just in terms of the household, that's 3,600 liters per minute is what per household. That's high. I don't think we've had any inadequacies when it comes to firefighting capabilities from a hydrant. It'd be nice if the systems were separated, right? You know, so you could just run, you don't have to run treated water through the system other than, you know, for corrosion purposes in terms of the pipes and those things, but you could have a fire water system. But I think, you know, looking how buildings are built right now with fire separation, building codes, sprinkler systems, closed halogen systems, those kinds of things in regards to fire suppression, and the construction of the materials compared to, you know, back in the day when you needed to have a lot of water available to fight fires. I just don't see that being a big need, more so than making sure that we have proper service levels for our residents that consume the product they pay for. And they pay for it heavily. Water and sewer is what, $1,425 per resident. $1,475, I think it went up, so $1,475 per resident. And they don't even have adequate water pressure in certain parts of the town. And I know a lot of plumbers that work all over the area, and they said that they're constantly at Riverside Drive replacing pipes because of too high of pressure. So you have the extreme, you have a lot of pressure at the low areas, and then you have people that don't have enough water. So now, homeowners are putting in whole house pumps that are pumping the water on city water. That's causing another issue, right? Now you're maybe taking away from a neighbor in terms of their pressure. And this is happening around the city right now. And it's simple. You just go to Amazon, pick up a whole house pump and plug it in and tap it into your water main. Done. Now you've got water pressure. But if you're paying for a service, you should have a minimum standard in regards to PSI and quality of the water. And we don't have that. So I'm just like to understand your thoughts in terms of that we're talking fire water, but we should be talking residential water. It's residential water that you're using. It's treated water. So if we don't have the flow rates at the residents, I'm hopefully we have it at the hydrant that's outside their house. And what are these flow rates? I'd like to understand what the flow rates are at the various different hydrants around the city. Because I have no idea what those are. And now I'm starting to wonder, do we have adequate flows in those areas to fight a fire? Or even to provide the proper level of service for our residents? Thank you.
Okay, so shall I respond to that one?
Yeah, if you have some comments, for sure.
Okay, so certainly we are looking at pressure in the water distribution system as we assess everything, and establishing level service targets for pressure is one thing certainly that we'll be endeavoring to do, and to improve where we can pressure in your system. In terms of fire flow, yes, in the high area, we can totally see in the modeled system there are low pressures, and we can totally replicate that. So what you're saying, certainly real life, or like the real world compared to the model, there is some that is represented. So we are aware of that scenario. But in terms of fire flow requires a minimum pressure of about 20 psi at the hydrant. So we do have residential fire flow there. As far as I can recall, I know we're very focused right now on the industrial fire flow, just because it's the largest number, and moving forward with designs and stuff, we do have to establish how much storage really is the key right now, establishing how much storage we need to design for. But I don't recall offhand that there was a particular issue with residential fire flow. It is much smaller, and we'll certainly be addressing that in our study.
Councillor Giacono, and I have the mayor after.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A comment again in regards to water pressure. I know in the east end of town, if you're living near the tower and your neighbor turns on the hose, the person next door doesn't have any pressure. But water flows downhill gravity-wise, so the further away you are from the tower, the better pressure you're going to get, I presume. And in the opposite end, where you got the excess pressure, your pipes may blow. So there's got to be some sort of a happy medium between the two. Individuals are, they're purchasing items to increase the pressure at their home. because, I mean, nobody wants to get in the shower and not be able to, wash properly. I mean, that's what's happening. And also, providing drinking water, whatever. It's a slow process, so everyone should have that same capability. I think with modern technology and perhaps with the new water tower that we have anticipated to be built in the very near future, I don't know what the time frame will be, a couple of years,
Potentially
7 years, that may rectify the situation. But in the interim, people are still putting up with the inadequacies of having that particular, issue. So I sympathize with them. I don't know what the solution is. Build the tower higher? I don't know. If you want more flow, if you want gravity fed, maybe it should be higher. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. It's amazing the amount of water that a household consumes every day, and people say, well, it can't be correct. But when you look at the number of washes that are done in a household, say a family of 3, that washing machine is going constantly. Showers, flushing the toilet. And I mean, people have gone to the low flush toilets, which were sort of a save water campaign, but it shows that it also has an adverse effect as well. It doesn't give you that proper push, to your sanitary. So you have other problems. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you, I know it's rather complex. Don't know what the complete solution is, but I think we sort of have a handle on it. We're moving forward with the statistics, etc. And my hope is that eventually in the east end of Pembroke, if you're living near the water tower on Rosewood or any of those streets, you'll have the same water pressure that, I mean, I live in the west end of Pembroke, 5 kilometers away. I mean, when I get in the shower in the morning, I have to have a mattress behind me. The pressure will blow me right out of the shower. So, there's a great inequity there. Thank you.
His Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I understand it, Mr. Lewis, your last bullet, you're bringing this forward so as to proceed with this INS plan, and you've been working on a number of different plans, I know, but that's why it's coming forward, so that this is where we're headed, this is the target we're headed, and let's face it, in Pembroke, we don't really have industrial, we don't have Chrysler here or GM or what have you. So that's my understanding, but in terms of what's being raised, and I received the calls as well as near the tower, that because it's close to the tower in terms of the water pressure issues, perhaps you can enlighten, without getting into a lot of detail, but enlighten this council as to our discussion in terms of things that you're working on to, with the consultant to alleviate those concerns for those residents.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So fire flow is just one of the items that we're looking at. So Candace is doing our water model. She's looking at fire flow. She's looking at pressures. We're looking at potential upgrades with Anna and Zoe and the rest of the team. The team is actually quite huge when you take the wastewater and everything else. So the entire team, we're looking at a number of different aspects. Pressure and fire flow are two separate aspects. They both go into the model. We're looking at all of those. We're looking at potentially pressure reducing valves in the system that would alleviate some of those issues in the lower areas, Riverside Drive, Nelson Street, some of those areas. If we put PRVs in the system, then we can increase the pressures elsewhere. Do we have to have a taller tower? Do we need a tower? If we use a water reservoir system, which our grant program is going to provide us with a larger reservoir, do we go into a pumping system and we pump and we increase pressures in those low pressure areas using the pumping? So all of that stuff is going into the model. The INS, the facility plans, upgrades, potentially upgrades at the plants, all of that stuff is all being looked at the same time. So we definitely understand the pressures and the low areas, fire flow, pressures at the hydrants and all that kind of stuff. It's all being looked at. The main reason for us to go through this process and set this level of service is so that we will have a document that we can hand to the developers and say, this is the target fire flow that the city has. If you need more than that, because you're going to develop a glass blowing plant, something of that nature, then you need to look after yourself to get yourself additional fire flows should you need that. Without us increasing capacities and making fire flows that are really not realistic for what we have in the city, and having our ratepayers and our developers pay for that overcapacity. So we need that document, we need that level of service so that we can provide that to our developers. Everything else that's being talked around the table is part of the INS, part of the plans that we're working on, and I will be back to council with recommendations from AE's team, capital plans moving forward, how we're going to combat some of the issues that we may have. All that stuff will be laid out at the end of this very long exercise.
Okay. Any other final questions or comments? Councillor Purcell.
Thank you. Thank you for your explanation. I appreciate the work that's happening behind the scenes in regards to, you know, addressing some of the shortcomings and also to make sure that we've got adequate, you know, water capabilities for fire purposes and also for residential drinking water. I guess I kind of lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah. Another inequity, and I just have to bring it up now because I think it is a proper time, is that, you know, somebody that lives alone, that lives in a house, pays the same water bill as somebody beside them that's got 7 children and does wash every day and those kinds of things. Is there, I know we're trying to, I know it's not cost effective to put water meters on all homes, but I know that houses probably built since 2005 have water meters attached to them, because I paid for a water meter that actually attached to my house. It was built in 2005. I'd like to see a program come out where individuals, if they choose to cover the cost of the installation of the water meter, to pay for usage only. Because I think there's a big inequity there, and I think it also doesn't serve the purpose in terms of the community, in terms of saving a valuable resource such as treated water. You know, it's another opportunity for people to conserve water, but I understand, and the city's position is that means you don't have somebody that's paying $1,375 for water and sewer. Now you may have somebody that's paying $1,000 for water and sewer. So where does the shortfall come from? So I understand the dilemma that the city's in, but I think we got to start looking at that and looking at how we can conserve a valuable resource through the use of the water meters. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just make a comment to that. So we are looking at water meters. We do have water meters, various locations throughout the city. A number of residential units have water meters. Industrial units have water meters that are read. We do have a flat rate system. The upcoming water and sewer rate study that's being done right now, going to be presented to committee in the not too distant future. We discuss water meters. The inequity between the two is something to look at. The cost of doing meters throughout. All of it is in play. It's all being looked at. It's all being discussed. As a matter of fact, I just had a meeting with the Treasury Department last week on the subject as to whether or not we're going to try and institute something for the next water and sewer rate study or not. We're doing trials of reading the existing meters to see average flows. But we have to make sure that we understand that usage isn't the only factor. We have a distribution system. We treat water, it goes out. Similar to hydro coming to your home, communications, all that kind of stuff, there's a delivery cost. So it wouldn't be a usage-only fee. We would still have to charge for that delivery to the home. Take a snowbird, for example, that leaves for the winter and doesn't use any water. We would still need to recover the cost of delivering water to that home. So all of those things are being looked at with AE and the team through this this program, and also with myself and the Treasury Department. We're reviewing all of those type of things to move forward.
Okay. Now, seeing any other final questions to our presenters, then I'd like to thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more presentation tonight. Ottawa Valley Tourism Association Strategic Plan presentation. Come on up.
Good evening, and please introduce and present. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Marquardt, and I am the manager of the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association.
My name's Erin Norris, and I'm the Tourism Industry Relations and Marketing Coordinator with the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association.
So we're here tonight to present our marketing strategy for the use of the municipal accommodation tax funds, as well as the budget and all of the good documents that go with that. So just starting off, this approach is a coordinated partnership-led approach for tourism development for the City of Pembroke. By thoughtfully investing municipal accommodation tax revenues, we're growing the tourism industry in a sustainable way by enhancing the visitor experiences, supporting local businesses, and creating meaningful, measurable, and economic impact across the region. The City of Pembroke and the OVTA will collaborate through coordinated planning, information sharing, and partnership engagement to align municipal and regional tourism priorities and ensure responsible use of the MAT funds. This marketing strategy will focus on collecting assets, working with the local tourism sector to enhance tourism experiences, build new product, explore and identify areas for industry support and development and marketing. To help build this strategy, we held a consultation session in February with the local tourism community at the Pembroke Clarion Hotel, and the purpose of that session was to gather insights and receive input about the marketing strategy. Throughout the session, participants identified a number of opportunities which point to collaboration and creating more compelling visitor experiences, including cross-promotional initiatives and collaborative regional tourism experiences, developing themed itineraries, multi-day events, and overnight packages, looking at some incentive programs like coupon booklets or citywide gift cards and visitor incentives, enhancing the visitor experiences, so looking at some of the products that we already have, like the mural tours, some photo selfie stations, and some digital marketing tools. Tourism infrastructure improvements like trail amenities, signage, and cycling supports, and strategic investment in marketing and events and tourism education initiatives.
So we recognize that the City of Pembroke is a riverfront community and serves as the heart of the Ottawa Valley. So the City of Pembroke also offers a compelling blend of culinary, cultural, and outdoor experiences. Some of the key tourism assets include walkable, character-rich downtown with a diverse range of restaurants, shops, and boutiques, arts and cultural experiences, such as the Heritage Murals, performances at Festival Hall, and outdoor musical festivals. Also, the city boasts active and motorized transportation infrastructure, notably the Ottawa Valley Recreational Trail, which runs through the city and connects Pembroke to the broader region. So we have discovered and learned that culinary tourism, this approach positions downtown Pembroke as a high-impact year-round destination. Food and drink experiences are proven drivers of visitation. It encourages increased dwell time and visitor spending. So by leveraging culinary assets, we can animate the downtown core, support other local businesses, and generate measurable economic benefits with a focused and scalable strategy. We know that food plays a major role in how people travel. Tasting local food and drinking local drinks is a top activity across all key travel markets. And nearly 1 in 5 travelers will choose a destination specifically for culinary experiences. It's also a priority for spending. After accommodations, dining is the next biggest expense. And importantly, 83% of travelers say food and drink shape their overall impression of a destination. We're also seeing strong interest in local experiences like farmers markets, which continue to attract both visitors and day trippers. So overall, food just isn't part of the trip. It's a driver for visitation, for spending, and for how people remember a place. The other lens that we're developing the strategy around is the performing arts lens. So when we look at downtown Pembroke's strengths, there's some really strong cultural and event-based assets already in place. For example, Festival Hall plays a key role as a central venue that brings performers and audiences into the downtown core. The waterfront creates a unique and scenic setting for live performances and community events, something that really enhances the overall visitor experience. Annual events like the Multicultural Festival, Busker Fest, and the Fiddle and Step Dancing Championship add energy to the community. All events draw both residents and visitors alike, creating reasons to come into the downtown core and encouraging people to stay and to explore. Together, these assets provide a strong foundation to build on, especially when we think about layering additional experiences like culinary tourism to further enhance and connect these moments. So again, building on the brand, the heart of the Ottawa Valley, Pembroke is being positioned as a welcoming, flavor-forward destination where culinary experiences, local culture, and riverfront living all come together. With a focus on culinary tourism in 2026, Pembroke will showcase its restaurants, its eateries, and vibrant downtown as a central reason to visit, inviting travelers to slow down, to explore on foot, and experience the Ottawa Valley through food, culture, and community. As a growing hub for music and performing arts, we're also highlighting live performances, festivals, and creative spaces that animate the downtown and the riverfront. And we're adding storytelling and a sense of place to every visit.
Aligned with the Apologies. Aligned with the OVTA and broader Ontario's Highlands regional target markets, promotional efforts will focus primarily on domestic markets within Ontario, Quebec, that including Ottawa, Eastern Ontario, Toronto, GTA area, Northern Ontario, Western Quebec, and Montreal. For secondary markets, which include the northeastern U.S., select countries in Europe and Asia, marketing and promotional efforts will be guided through our travel trade partnership with the Ontario's Highlands Tourism Organization and regional partners. Locally, that includes the Best Western Pembroke, as well as 8 other travel trade tourism operators from the Ottawa Valley and 22 from across the Ontario's Highlands region. Our target audience focuses on adults primarily aged 30 to 60 who typically have both the time and disposable income to travel and explore. This includes key segments like foodies or those interested in culinary, motorized sports enthusiasts, and culture and heritage travelers, groups that align well with downtown Pembroke's offerings. Together, these visitors represent visitors who are likely to seek out experiences, spend locally, and engage with the downtown core. This consumer profile is further exemplified by Destination Ontario's 2025 key experiences that show what visitors are looking for when traveling to Ontario. What this tells us is that travelers aren't just looking for one thing, they're looking for a mix of experiences. Yes, food, shopping, and nature are big draws, but when you layer in festivals, family-friendly activities, and culture, that's what really rounds out a trip and makes it memorable. With a strong emphasis on marketing and product development, the way we've structured the budget is roughly 80% of the budget is dedicated to this area of marketing promotion. $80,000 will support marketing and advertising, and $30,000 has been set aside for the establishment of a tourism development and sponsorship fund. We've also set aside $35,000 for product development to enhance visitor experiences. Industry development represents about 14% of the budget and focuses on training and strengthening the local tourism sector. Finally, a small portion is allocated to administration to ensure that we can effectively deliver on these priorities while keeping overhead low.
So in our overall marketing approach, we always use a mix of owned, earned, and paid media for marketing and promotions. And these include things like direct-to-consumer traditional advertising in print and digital content marketing through our website and social media, working with travel media influencers such as bloggers, influencers, television, and radio. And we also work with regional marketing campaigns through Ontario's Highlands Tourism Organization and other regional and provincial partners. This same approach will be used to promote the city and its assets and experience, and it'll allow us to seamlessly leverage regional campaigns and programs that are part of our broader marketing strategy for the entire Ottawa Valley. During the consultation process with tourism partners in Pembroke, partners clearly identified a need for stronger marketing and development support. They were especially in digital areas such as their websites, their social media, video content, all things to better promote their experiences. There's also an opportunity to improve market readiness through translation services and targeting niche markets like cycling and corporate travel. Tools that support collaboration, like trade showed assets and centralized communication hub, can help businesses better align and respond to visitor activity. Partners also highlighted the need for more support for events and festivals and attraction. Finally, partners expressed interest in professional development and training that builds both business skills and organizational capacity. This includes areas like marketing, branding, grant writing, alongside governance and financial management for organizations. Overall, these types of training will help strengthen local businesses and enhance the visitor experience in Pembroke.
We wanted to share. Apologies. We wanted to share a little bit more information about the Tourism Development and Sponsorship Fund. So on the slide, you'll see how we're breaking this down. So for 2026, we've allocated a total budget of $30,000 and have divided that into two streams. So there's an event sponsorship stream with a total allocation of $10,000, and that offers 3 tiers of funding of $250, $500, or $1,000 per event. And then we have the Tourism Development Fund with a total allocation of $20,000 for the year with a maximum contribution of $2,500 per project. We've got this program ready to go and are ready to open it up next week, providing all of this is approved. And we would keep that open for a 3-week period, after which applications would be accepted on a first come, first served basis until all those funds have been allocated.
So we will work with the city's tourism department and the local tourism business community to enhance existing and develop new tourism products and experiences. This will include enhancing collaboration amongst the local business community, as well as itinerary and route development, package development with the broader Ottawa Valley tourism community. You can go to the next slide, right on. So our 2026 plan for seasonal asset collection, this winter we focused on snowmobiling with 2 snowmobile television programs that came to Pembroke and Petawawa. This spring we'll focus on cycling. This summer we'll be focusing on recreational boating, marina, performance arts, festivals, downtown, and ATV and off-road adventures. And in the fall, we'll focus on culinary and dining assets and the performing arts.
We'll also work with the local business community to share relevant and timely data and market intelligence as it's available, and offer training and upskilling opportunities to equip the industry with resources that support the execution and delivery of the tourism promise. In 2026, there will be a particular focus on building culinary tourism offerings by working with the tourism businesses on taste of place and experiential development. In closing, this strategy provides a clear and coordinated path forward for strengthening tourism in Pembroke, setting the foundation for a stronger tourism economy. By focusing on targeted marketing, product development, and strong collaboration with local and regional partners, we're positioning Pembroke to attract more visitors, encourage longer stays, and generate meaningful economic impact. And that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to take questions if there are any.
First up is Councillor Frenier.
Thank you for the presentation. A couple of questions and just a couple of concerns. This presentation was based on the MAT tax that's going to the OVTA to manage on behalf of Pembroke, City of Pembroke. And all I see there is Ottawa Valley. So is this an OVTA presentation or a MAT tax presentation? Just kind of a little bit of, one thing that gets to me too is sometimes when people say Renfrew instead of Renfrew County. So I'm very, very focused on where are we targeting with this money, okay? And that's why it really flagged me when I saw Ottawa Valley all through that presentation. The word Pembroke wasn't there. So that kind of didn't sit right with me. I just, because it's Pembroke's MAT tax. And I know that when this was all decided, we would have a big say on how that money was spent. And it's not that it isn't being spent that way. Don't take that. But I want individuals in Pembroke to know that this mat tax is serving the residents of Pembroke. And I know I sit on the tourist committee, and that was a big focus too, is that we want to make sure that we can have some say about how this money is spent. And so if you could just work Pembroke into that a little more, it would make me happy. That's one thing. The other thing is $179,375 is the budget. That's how much mat tax is going to the OVTA. And I look at the amount of $30,000 for sponsorship funding for events, and it just seems very minuscule to me compared to that very large number. And I was really hoping at the onset of this that a lot of that would be provided to our businesses in the city, you know, and the people that volunteer their time to run these events to support them. Because if it's not coming through mat tax, it's coming out of our residents' pocket through taxation. Because I know we have a grant program too at the recreation, but that's not huge either. So we were hoping that the mat tax could assist us with that. And I don't think 30,000, to be honest. Maybe that amount sounds like a lot, but some of those little grants, $250 I think was one of them. When you look at the criteria and the reporting mechanism, I don't know too many people that are going to go through writing an application and then having to report for $250. It's easier for them to go get a sponsorship for $250. So I kind of don't agree with those figures. And I don't know if I'm alone around the table on that, but I don't think I am. So I'm wondering, I don't know. I know that this council does have some say, but I know that you work closely with our own staff. But these are concerns of mine. When I look at the fact that $149,000 is going towards marketing, product development, industry, that's all good and well. But I want to see more of that cash going to support things that are actually happening and creating people on a local level. So that's just my concern. And then some of the things here that you're focusing on, snowmobiling, ATVing, that's wonderful. A lot of that doesn't take place within the city. It does affect the hotels though, and I think you're right, the more people that come in and use those services. So I just want to make sure it's being funneled to Pembroke, because we also do provide funds to OVTA separate that can be spent on all that general county stuff, you know, like stuff that advertises the whole county. But I just want to see that this is being spent for the benefit of Pembroke. Okay, that's all. Okay.
Would you like to respond?
Thank you, and through you, thank you for the comments. So I want to rest council assured that this is a strategy for Pembroke. We mentioned the Ottawa Valley within that. We are the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association, so there is going to be the mention of that. Also, through our agreement for the municipal accommodation tax that we have with the city, as part of that agreement, it is to leverage the broader Ottawa Valley marketing strategy with some of the Pembroke MAT funds as well. So there will be some opportunities where some of the campaigns, while they're highlighting Pembroke, will also leverage some other campaigns that we're doing with the broader Ottawa Valley. That was part of the agreement that was struck, and it was one of the things that the operators also wanted to have in terms of that package development and partnering with other tourism operators and partners. So rest assured, this is a strategy to promote Pembroke as a tourism destination, but it will include opportunities to leverage with the broader region and with other operators outside of Pembroke Central as part of the agreement and what we've been working with when establishing this strategy with Elijah and the team. On the funding allocation for the Sponsorship Development Fund, we can more than happy to revisit that and increase the amounts on that. This was our first kick at the can for this, so we don't know what the demand is going to be. So we didn't want to start off too low or too high and be off the mark. So this was our attempt at that, but we can definitely revisit that and increase those amounts if that's the request, for sure.
Councillor Keel for next.
So, I mean, I certainly appreciate our partnership on this. One of my concerns is shared by Councillor Lafreniere, because I hear you talking about it being a partnership, and then I see under the sponsorship program guidelines, under this stream, the OVTA needs to, I'm assuming the word be, recognized as an event sponsor through logo visibility. Where's the Pembroke logo? So while I hear what you're saying, I also failed to see it in the actual, documents, just that one being an example. As Councillor Lafreniere said, this, with respect, this is our MAT tax, and we are trying to promote Pembroke. So I mean, I don't know why our logo or our Visit, I think we have a separate Visit Pembroke logo. I mean, I would have expected to see that in the sponsorship program guidelines as well. In terms of the numbers, I can appreciate now, after you said what you just said about, wanting to hit the mark. I just think, it was a couple years ago, Buskerfest came to us, seeking a couple $1,000s for an event that, is in 2 short years has become one of our biggest events, and it's bringing in not just talent, but I know visitors and everything. So when I saw 250, 500, 1,000, I also thought, what does that do for that kind of signature event? So I don't know if there's a way. So I'm going to say that for this year, if the program's ready to go and we want to test the waters, I guess I'm going to say I'm not going to stand in the way of that at this point. But I do think for some of the larger concepts, I think they might need a bit more support. And when I look at something like Buskerfest, it deserves a bit more support. I mean, it truly is hitting the tourism nail, I think, in terms of that as an example. I thought the same thing that Councillor Lafreniere thought. I'm going to reach into my wallet before I do an application and reporting to you for $250. I get that not everybody can do that, but for $250, I personally wouldn't bother filling out paperwork and then following up with you and whatnot. So I suppose in this sense, everything else is great. Let me say that. Everything else is fabulous, but in terms of things that I do think miss the mark that I did want to comment on, it is those 2 things.
Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you for your presentation. Really helpful, particularly a lot of the different parts of the presentation that to provide some background information or that sort of thing. So I have a question and a comment. I'll start with the comment, I guess. So for members of council, so that the meeting that these 2 lovely young ladies are talking about is this meeting in February where there's a number of different individuals around the table. And so at first, what I would think of for MAT tax is that, yes, you're providing funds to support businesses in that sense. However, attending this meeting, I quickly discovered that these businesses throwing money at trying to assist with a festival or something that they're trying to aspire for isn't necessarily the end all and be all for some of these businesses. So having attended that particular meeting, some of these businesses, like you mentioned, board governance, so some of these businesses are struggling with what I would think of as the basics. They know what their business is, and they no doubt know it very well, whether it be clothing or what have you. But what I would think of as basics going into business apparently is not basics for some individuals. They're really struggling to understand certain things, and maybe it's that they don't have the time of day to do that. They're so busy 9 to 5, probably more than 9 to 5, running their businesses, doing their thing. They don't have the time to, okay, well, how should I set up a certain type of governance? How should I, function on Facebook? There's still some of us that are trying to figure out all these lovely social media platforms and trying to figure out how do you promote your business. And so some of these different businesses are struggling and wanting assistance from people who know how to do these things. And so I can, if the question is the DV, like the division of funds in terms of what's going into the sponsorship versus what's going into these other columns. I'm quite content with it this year being this way, simply because I think that there's a number of different businesses that need support, and so hence there's a number of funds has to go into those things as opposed to festivals and so forth, because that's seemingly, at least what they told us, what they're struggling with. My question, I guess, and I was looking through at one of the addendums that's attached to it, and what I'm trying to figure out, I know that you're saying that you would work with our tourism department. What I'm trying to figure out is, well, the city of Pembroke does different things as well to support different festivals, and I'm trying to figure out if Ron wants to do a festival, am I permitted to try and hit up the city of Pembroke and this particular sponsorship fund at the same time, or am I going to be precluded, or there's on the back end someone discussing it so that I'm not trying to, what is it, at one of our meetings we called it stacking grants. So I'm just trying to figure that particular question out.
Through you, thank you, Mayor, for the comments and for the question. Yeah, so we need to have a discussion with the tourism staff because we're not sure what the city's funding programs are going to support. In conversations that we've had with Elijah, we don't want to be offering the same support for the exact same things. They should be complementary and not competing. So that's something that we had discussed working with Elijah and his team, just to ensure that there's the good use of those funds and that they're not being, like I said, double stacked against the same initiative, or that they're complementary depending on how the city is going to be running their funding program.
Councillor Purcell?
Yeah, thank you again for your presentation. Yeah, I had the same concerns in regards to the event sponsorship. So, some of the established festivals, such as the Multicultural Festival and the Busker Fest, they both received $20,000 each from the OCAF this year. They've all applied for consideration in terms of the Pembroke Fund that we have. And now it sounds like they're eligible now for up to $1,000 per event. So I kind of question, maybe it should be new events, like so bring something different to the area or something new to the area, rather than just supplementing an existing event for $1,000 when some of these events are spending anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000. So they're significant events. So is it a drop in the bucket? I mean, every $1,000, but it's probably $1,000 that you don't have to go knock on another sponsor's door. So are we just kind of, providing them extra dollars to provide a service that they're already providing the city, is what I'm getting at. So if it was new festivals, that's different. You want to come up with a new event, something that's unique, we're there to support you with this. The existing festivals can go through the Pembroke Fund and also through the funds that are available through provincial government, which was the OCAF. Also, my concern is in terms of the application process. So the application process is after June 12th, applications are accepted first come, first serve. So I'm first in the gate, I'm going to get dollars. It may not be the quality in terms of the submission or the value that we want on return. So I kind of go back to the city processes where we've defined and we score them accordingly to what gives us the best bang for the buck. So for us would be maybe one of the scoring is are you receiving any additional dollars from any other grant program? Then, are you receiving any dollars from provincial funding? Are you receiving, how long have you been in existence? Are you creating any profits from these from existing festivals? And those just have a better understanding in terms of the need versus just to say, well, there's an extra easy $1,000. I don't have to go bug CNL for an extra $100,000, or $1,000, or I don't have to, bug a business operator for $500 times two. So I'd like to see some sort of scoring criteria that identifies what's the best bang for those dollars. So, and it's not just first come, first serve, but they're actually scored. So, thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So yeah, all applications will be scored. They are going through a scoring criteria for sure, and we wanted to offer an application window period because that's how most funding programs tend to work, so that it gives an equal opportunity for everybody during that application window, and then after that, would be available on first come, first serve as those funds are available. But all applications are scored regardless whether in that intake period or on the first come, first serve basis, just to clarify. Yeah.
And then the new events, the future funding should be really for new events that haven't been established. Sorry. They really should be for new events that haven't been established. So just so that they can get these events off the ground, like, Busker Fest scrambled first year to actually get the dollars that they needed, and now look at the success of that festival. This is what I feel is going to be building, these opportunities and from the ground up, because again, not that $1,000 isn't important for these festivals to run, but I think it's more important if it's something new that comes to the area. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a good point. We can look at potentially maybe adding a third stream. So maybe there is 2 streams under the sponsorship, one for new events, one for existing events. We weren't necessarily identifying new or existing within this. It would just be any event, but we can look at separating that out. Yeah.
Councillor Jacquinot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And ladies, I really appreciate what you're trying to do. It's difficult to attract everybody and focus on one particular area. I think our strengths are built not only from centralization as a city, but it's what else is around us. We have whitewater rafting. We've got whitewater in the Petawawa River. We've got the Eganville Caves. We've got things to do. We've got Algonquin Park. Pembroke was once known as the gateway to Algonquin Park. I had a recent opportunity to take my grandsons up to the Barron River Gorge and canoed there. An old guy like me canoeing. The emergency paddles weren't needed, thank goodness. But I met people when I was there from France, and I said to them, "What brought you to Algonquin Park?" I mean, they're coming from France. They've traveled halfway around the world to go to Algonquin Park. We wanted to see a moose. Simple. I met people there from Quebec City, from Montreal. Now, these people obviously do not go to the park and go home right away. They want to stop somewhere. They want, as you said, we're looking at a culinary experience. How do they find out about that? That's all part and parcel of the process. And to keep them here. The thing is, once they're here, you want them here. I've met people from Great Britain that came here specifically to go whitewater rafting and, to see what the mighty Ottawa River had to offer. And they stayed here for 2 weeks. They stayed in a motel here in Pembroke. They could stay on site but they wanted, a comfortable bed. They wanted to come and have some great meals on our town, at our city. There's so much to offer. We have all these golf courses within a short radius of the city of Pembroke. Why not a golfing event? You talk about the PGA. I'm not talking about PGA, but I'm talking about something. Golfers will travel. I know that Councillor Purcell's a golfer. He likes to go here and there. And he may even leave the country to go golfing sometimes because he's an avid golfer. So people, if you have something to offer them, they'll come here. But you got to offer them something. And now we have the Busker Fest, which attracts thousands of people. We have the International Festival at our waterfront, which attracts. It's a multicultural event that brings people from everywhere. They're from Ottawa. They come for a couple of days. They just don't come for the day. So that's what we have to focus on as a suggestion. In the year 2028, Pembroke will celebrate 200 years as a community. We're older than the country. Think about that. We're older than the country of Canada. The county courthouse predates Confederation. It was built a couple of years before 1867. So, I believe that people will come back here. I was looking at an old magazine that was printed in 1928. I think it was the 100-year anniversary, 1928. And there were thousands of people on the street, during the parade taking place. So I know that people will come back. They'll come here. They'll stay in a motel. They'll bring their children, perhaps. If they haven't lived here for a while, I'd like to come back and bring my grandkids and celebrate the area that I grew up in. And I think there's potential for that, and big potential. And you have to have proper planning. I think your budget, obviously, you're working on a shoestring budget. You know, we're looking at multi-millions of dollars in tourism and attraction. I'm a fisherman. I go to Algonquin Park, and as a fisherman with another guy, we spend big money. We buy groceries, gasoline, you know, a new sleeping bag, new fishing gear. We spend hundreds of dollars each, if not more than that, to go on a fishing trip. Not to mention imbibements. Of course, you need Pepsi and Coke and all that while you're in there. But anyway, I'm just saying, fishermen spend probably $1 billion a year in the province of Ontario alone. So perhaps focusing on those things. But again, you know, focusing and mentioning Pembroke, I think is a good thing. But like, let's not forget about our neighbors, because people may come here for one particular item, but they want to travel. You know, when I'm going somewhere, I like to explore. So those are my comments, and I think that well, here, you know, you're talking about the mayor of Edmonton Bromley. Save the date, August 22nd, Taste of the Valley. You see, so, you know, I'm going to go to that. I'm going to take my wife and grandkids and go. I mean, it's all about, you know, celebrating our community and the communities around us, right? Thank you.
Okay, final thoughts, or Councillor Keel?
So I will say that I'm based on your own answers. I just want to make the comment that I think, generally speaking, we should be leaving this to the experts, and you've shown yourself tonight to be exactly that. With respect to the mayor's comments about some businesses just needing more economic development help, I will say that there are our economic development officer and Community Futures and other places do offer, I think everything that he touched on tonight as an example is offered through other means as well. So certainly I hope that relationship goes further than just Elijah, and also to Heather in terms of boosting our local economic footprint. I would have to respectfully disagree with Councillor Purcell on the new events thing. I'm not saying that maybe a future third stream, an incubator stream, wouldn't be worth it, but at the same time, I want to seeing the money going to the best place that it can. And when it comes to Multicultural Festival, when it comes to Busker Fest, although they're already established, they also have a huge tourist impact for us. I mean, that's investing in good tourist dollars. And with the greatest of respect, and, you know, if the deputy mayor was here, I know he's done, you know, productions and whatnot. You can have the greatest of intentions and then have an event that doesn't produce, you know, like you were hoping it to produce. I know a couple years ago, our first Veterans Festival that I did, you know, we barely got 100 people into Festival Hall. That was a disappointment. So I appreciate, and this is when I decided to compliment you on being the experts, because your first thought wasn't to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It was to think, well, maybe we need an incubator stream for new projects. And I think that would be the better course if we were to show favoritism for new things. But I don't want us to neglect those big things. Everything keeps costing more. I think we all just saw in the news the Tulip Festival announcing, you know, their planned drone show has been canceled because they just don't have the funding. So I don't want us to ignore our staple events. But that also, based on your answer, also leads me to say that I think we do need to let you, as the experts, you know, guide us. And you know, certainly we have comments and we have thoughts, but at the end of the day, I'm quite happy leaving it to those that are in the industry to know how best to maneuver around the industry. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation, and okay, back up the table, Mr. Lewis. We are on B now. Tender award, Isabella Street Catchment Area, Phase 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. The Isabella Street Catchment Area, Phase 3. The recommendation from staff is that the Operations Committee endorse and recommend to Council approval of the following. that the Isabella Street catchment area Phase 3 tender number 236541 be awarded to Lemieux Excavating Inc. in the amount of $2,214,995 plus applicable HST, that being the lowest and responsible bidder. Approval of additional expenditures in the amount of $200,000 for contingency allowance. The total value of the recommendations equal $2,414,995 plus applicable HST. As part of the 2026 budget, the city had allocated $4,422,788 for the Isabella Street Phase 3 project. Project costs as tendered for Phase 3, including the contract administration, construction, tendering, additional expenditures, and net HST, equate to $2,593,057.86. And the above includes the award of contract administration to Ainley Graham and Associates. That's based on their quoted values submitted with their design and contract administration proposal. Some background: the contract was publicly advertised. 2 bids were received. Tenders were opened, reviewed, and analyzed following the city's procurement policy. Bids were received as follows: Lemieux Excavating Inc. at $2,214,995. Bonashare Excavating Inc. at $2,232,630.22. So this particular project includes the complete reconstruction of sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water infrastructure, as well as the road, curb, and sidewalk. As previously discussed with committee, the works of this phase will include the removal of the sidewalk on the north side of Isabella Street. The road reconstruction is 250 meters on Isabella Street from Moffett Street to Dorn. This is Phase 3 of a multi-phase project. It is aimed at improving the Isabella Street catchment area storm infrastructure and replacing the sanitary sewer mains that are at the end of their estimated useful life. And in keeping with our strategic plan for the city, infrastructure renewal with replacement of our aging infrastructure is a priority, and it helps to limit disruption to the users. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Keel.
Have we had this company before, Lemieux Excavating?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is a new company for the city of Pembroke, but not a new company. We have done some research on the company because the name was unfamiliar to us. So they're not new. They have done underground infrastructure before. And ourselves, as well as our consultant, did some research to confirm that they are capable of doing this work.
Okay. It seems, when I was running for council and looking at old agenda packages, there might be 5 or 6 bids, and then by the time I got to council, there was 3 or 4 bids, and now we're down to 1 or 2 bids. I'm not necessarily saying that there's anything we can do about that, but is that a concern with the lack of choice at all? And is that just our area, or is that a larger concern across the province?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's dependent on the project. It's dependent on the year and the time of year. The last tender award I brought before committee, I believe, had 6 contractors that bid that particular project, so it depends on the work and their workload. There's a number of other projects going. Spring is a very, very busy year for contractors, and various municipalities all going for projects at the same time. Contractors do sometimes pick and choose the type of work that they're going to get into. Underground infrastructure can be complicated, and it's long. They spend a fair amount of time in one location. So it's not a concern for the operations department. It's not new for us to see only 2 bidders. The next tender, we could have 6. It's very dependent on the project and the time of year. Excuse me.
And in terms of this phase, if my memory is correct, we talked about expanding the next phase on Isabella to include more work than originally was involved. Is that the case here, or?
That is, through you, Mr. Chair, that is this work. Okay. So last year we went from Renfrew Street to Mary Street on Moffett, and we had hoped last year that we could try and get part of the way down this particular stretch. It didn't work due to design and timing and so forth, so that is the phase that we had talked about. Okay. So that is being done now.
Okay, so my memory's not that bad.
That's correct.
Motions? Councillor Svenny?
I would move that we endorse and recommend the approval of what was just presented, that the Isabella Street Catchment Area Phase 3 tender be awarded to Lemieux Excavating in the amount of $2,214,995 plus applicable HST, as well as additional expenditures in the amount of $200,000 for a contingency allowance. Total value of the recommendations equals $2,414,995 plus applicable HST.
Seconder? Councillor Keel. Mayor, comments?
Just a quick question, and if it doesn't give away too much, Mr. Lewis, and it's further to what Councillor Keel is asking, and I know we've had chit-chats, but clearly Councillor Keel is, and I appreciate that he is interested and he's paying attention to the tenders and the number of proponents that are bidding on it. So if it doesn't give away too much, are you able to comment? You sort of touched on when you're talking about perhaps the size of contracts, but sometimes what staff might do to try and ensure that there's a larger net cast to get certain proponents.
Through the chair, we often look at bundling projects or looking at projects that are complementary to each other. We try not to put out two major infrastructure projects at the same time because we're going to have contractors competing for the same project. We look at further phases. You know, we deal with a few consultants for these type of projects, and we know those consultants are working with similar contractors, maybe the same contractors, doing other projects. So we're very cognizant of looking at the whole picture and what other projects we have coming up, the next phase, the next project, and future phases of other projects. So all of those things are kind of looked at when we do this, keeping in mind what the contractors are busy doing. As I mentioned, spring is a very, very busy year for the contractors, and we know they're not just working for the City of Pembroke, they're working for other municipalities, and we try and time things correctly. Hoping that I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Mr. Lewis, before I call to question? See none, then call to question. Those in favor? Approved. Next up, I will be removing myself as I have a community interest. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item is tender award River Road resurfacing. Director Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the Operations Committee endorse and recommend to Council approval of the following: that the River Road resurfacing, Town Line Road to Bell Street, tender number 26-0697-02, be awarded to Greenwood Paving Limited in the amount of $482,438.80 plus applicable HST, that being the lowest and responsible bidder. Approval of additional expenditures in the amount of $50,000 for a contingency allowance. The total value of the recommendations equal $532,438.80 plus applicable HST. The River Road Bell Street to Town Line project is Phase 2, has an allocated budget of $850,000. That's total project allocation. $85,000 of that was the city's portion allocated in the 2026 budget. The remainder of the monies is coming from the Connecting Link grant program. So the provincial and municipal combined project costs, including contract administration, construction, tendering, additional expenditures, and the net HST, total $620,257.05. Based on the funding agreement, the city's portion of the Phase 2 works, based on the tendered value, is $62,025.71. The remainder of the project is funded under the provincial contribution. That comes out of the province's total maximum contribution for this three-phase project of $3 million. The above award also includes the contract administration services to Aegis Canada Limited, and that is based on their quoted values when they submitted their proposal for design and contract administration. Some background: the contract was publicly advertised. We received 3 bids. Tenders were opened, reviewed, and analyzed, meeting the city's procurement policy, and the bids that were received are as follows. Greenwood Paving Limited, $482,438.80. McCrae Excavating Limited, $555,334.20. And Bonisher Excavating Inc., at $573,540.50. Project is part of a larger resurfacing and road rehabilitation project. It is a three-phase project, as I mentioned, and it is for the Highway 41-148 connecting link. This particular connecting link program is from city limits on Paul Martin Drive along River Road and ends at the intersection of Metcalfe Street and McKay. The resurfacing of Phase 1 was completed last year in 2025. This year, part of that Phase 1 work is the bridge work, and you may have noted that that work is being completed now. Works for Phase 2 include milling and paving of the road surface from Town Line Road to Bell Street. Also includes the installation of a pedestrian crossing at the Parkette on River Road at Bennett Street, as well as modifications to the existing sidewalk to meet AODA compliance. As stated, the city received provincial funding for 90% of the eligible cost to a maximum of $3 million. And Phase 3 is planned for next year. It will coincide with a water main replacement project from Bell Street to Metcalfe. So we're upgrading that water main, and we'll be doing the road as part of that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions, comments, motions? Councillor Lafreniere?
I would just move we endorse and recommend the report, and we would approve the award to Greenwood Paving in the amount of $482,438.80 plus applicable HST, and also the additional expenditures in the amount of $50,000 for contingency. Total value $532,438.80 plus applicable HST.
Thank you. Councillor Keel, you seconding it? Either of you wish to speak to it? No? Councillor Jacquinot?
Worship, I just want to comment that, all the proper bidding processes have been followed. This is a local company. From my understanding, probably 100 people have been hired in the last little while. Good to see that local people are working. And this particular firm also does work outside of our community. So it is my intent just to comment that, they do good work. And I'm 100% in favor of this moving forward with local people working here under local contracting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for stepping in. Next up is the CIP request, Economic Development Information. Sutherland, welcome.
Thank you. So the recommendation this evening is that the committee endorse and recommend to council accessing the full balance available in the Community Improvement Plan Reserve to pay out any CIP grants that close in 2026, which exceed the $100,000 budget. And furthermore, that committee recommend to council to permit interfund borrowing from another reserve deemed most appropriate to allow continued funding of the CIP in 2026 if necessary. So as note, the 2026 budget for the community improvement plan includes $100,000 for the grants, funded $50,000 from taxation and $50,000 from the reserve. Following this allocation, we have just over $109,000 available in reserve funds for future grants. And under the reserve policy, the minimum year-end balance for this reserve is $125,000. So if it falls below this at year-end, any available surplus will be automatically applied to replenish the reserve as per the city's reserve and reserve fund policy. So by way of background, the city has had a community improvement plan since 2000. We're an early adopter, and we've had a lot of success with this program over the years, as committee is aware. So our original program focused on downtown heritage facade. Over the course of its history, it had 27 applications with a return on investment for the city of 453%. So seeing a lot of great return for the city in that. In 2016, the city then expanded the community improvement plan to be a more comprehensive program with 10 financial incentives covering a variety of programs and upgrades in industrial and commercial properties in the city. And this plan received 59 applications with a 490% return on investment. So between the two, seeing millions of dollars in construction happening within the city. So then this plan also had a COVID-specific grant to, step up and be able to support businesses through a really challenging time. That was over a 2-year span, and it had 33 applications and supported those 33 businesses with 182% return on investment. So with the 2016 plan aging, as you're aware, council funded the update of the community improvement plan in 2025, which then was approved by council on January 20th of this year and finalized following its appeal period on February 12th. So since finalizing in February and then getting all the paperwork and things in order that we need, so really since being up and running since March of this year, we've already approved 7 applications with a final, another one that just received final approval from the CAO today. And we also have 4 other applications currently going through the process. The ones that have been approved so far see, just shy of $175,000 of investment going into properties across the city, and so far representing a return on investment of 88% for the city. On top of those already in the works, we've also had several conversations with people. The new plan is it's catching people's attention. They're very excited about the updates that we've made in terms of the variety of grants that are available, as well as the increased thresholds on the amount of money available to support businesses. So as mentioned, the budget in 2026 for the CIP is $100,000 with the additional 109 and change in the reserve. So there's a lot of numbers here, so I apologize for all the math, but with that combined amount, we have $209,600 available. So far this year, we've paid out just over $6,000, and we've committed another $138,500, so that's a total of $145,202.40. So if committee and then council approves moving over the reserve with that total amount, that leaves right now just short of $65,000 in available funds remaining for applications this year. It's difficult to determine exactly when a CIP grant will pay out because applicants have 18 months to complete the work. So it's not bound by the calendar year or our budget year. So they have to complete the work, provide the receipts, and close any applicable building permits. So it's not to say that all of this money will come out in 2026, but there's a good chance that several of them will, because a lot of the projects were waiting for the program to be finalized and they were ready to go. So they're already well on their way with their work. So there is a lot of interest generated so far with the CIP without any extensive marketing thus far. So staff feels it's likely that additional applications this year will exceed that $64,000 that's remaining available with the reserve fund. So the reserve policy does allow interfund borrowing, but it must be approved by council via resolution and accompanied with a formal repayment plan. So for example, the city could access a reserve fund where the money is not needed in 2026 to support the CIP and then replenish it in the 2027 budget or with any 2025 or 2026 surplus that might be available. If the recommendation is approved, a formal resolution will be brought to council at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Keel.
First of all, I think the CIP program, I've liked it since it came out. I thought that was a really good idea, and it was, it was really good of the province to allow us to have a CIP program, because otherwise I think almost all of this would fall squarely under the bonusing provisions that are disallowed. So for those people that don't know, a municipality is not allowed to just give money away. It's prohibited, as a matter of fact. But there's certain programs that the province allows us to take advantage of that does allow us to issue grants and things like that. So I'm certainly, I've loved this program the entire time it's existed. I think this newest update is absolutely fantastic, and I don't need to tell Heather that. She knows that. from the security grants to I know the increased amounts, I know received a lot of positive feedback, because again, since the last time the city reviewed its CIP program, obviously inflation, like there were some huge increases since our last CIP update. My only concern, is as much as I love this program, and the mayor and I sat in budget with Heather in recommending to council a sizable increase to the budget this year, because we thought it was going to attract new numbers. At some point in time, I do get worried about how much we can let the taps run. So what would be the downside of capping things without doing the inter-reserve? Like if we just said, look, we'll commit what's currently in the reserve because that's what it's there for. That's why we have a reserve. What would be the downside of capping it at that, however, and then allowing council in a normal budget process to then review things and replenish the reserve? Do you have any negative thoughts or concerns about that? And that's the only place I'm going, is to say, yes, let's use the reserve because that's the people's money for this program. I don't know, I'm nervous about the inter-reserve funding, and do we really just have a free flow here?
Sure, thank you. So through the chair, I guess the perceived, that perception of the loss of momentum by having to, hey, we have this program, oh, now it's closed. However, there are many CIP programs across the province where the pot is what the pot is, and it's first come, first serve. And so when that money is spoken for, then that's the close of applications. So it wouldn't be out of character, for other CIPs. So it just, I think it would shut down that momentum. But so then it would just be a matter of communicating to the community about, applications will open again in 2027 when we have a new bucket to draw from.
Okay, I think if that is the only concern, I appreciate the momentum phrase. I don't think people will give up on asking for free money. So I'll be inclined to say let's use the reserves, but I'm at the moment disinclined to go further than that. And to your point, you mentioned other CIPs. I think we at the city ourselves know that there are all kinds of government programs that have limits, and when it runs out, it does run out. So I'm inclined to take that middle ground, but I look forward to what other councillors have to say.
I have the mayor up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I share Councillor Keel's sentiments in terms of the excitement of the new CIP program, everything that you've said in terms of what it accomplishes. So some of the notes that I made here is, number one, the rate of return, like you'd never be able to accomplish that rate of return any other way, in my opinion. Councillor Giacono speaks to hiring local contractors. I can tell you from sitting on that committee, it's not a requirement that it be a local contractor, but by and large, they're local contractors being employed as a result of this particular program. So you got people doing things that may not otherwise normally do it, and they're hiring local contractors. Third win is increasing the assessment, because now you have a property that's more valuable. So there's huge wins all the way around. I guess where I'm at is supporting the request in terms of utilizing the reserve, and I'm wondering whether or not the other question is left for another day, because it may not be that, I don't know, I can't prejudge it, but it may not be that by the end of the year that we're even in that situation where we're trying to figure out, are you trying to draw from another reserve, or are you not trying to draw? We may not get there, but I know what Ms. Sullivan is saying in terms of not even aggressively marketing it. But I can say that when Councillor Keel and I were at the Community Watch Program, and some individuals didn't even know about the CEPTED grant. So there's still individuals that don't even know that the grant, that this new grant offerings is even out there. So I'm sort of in that camp of I appreciate and support drawing on the reserve. That's why it's there. But as I've said all along, it means that council needs to appropriately fund it. It's hugely successful, obviously, but it has to be appropriately funded. And so I'm hoping that we can get to December by utilizing what's in the reserve. And then again, next year, whoever sits around this table, it needs to be appropriately funded, or else it sort of falls flat because it's not accomplishing what it can otherwise do. Thank you.
Councillor Frenier?
Pretty much everything's been said between Councillor Keel and the mayor. Yeah, no, I think we need to go with that. And if some years, like I won't be here next year to make that decision, but I mean, it's just like the event grant system we have. When the money's gone, the money's gone. And if individuals want to go ahead with their project on their own, they can. If not, they can wait till the next January if it's something that doesn't have to be done and apply that year. But I agree with what's been said. So, thank you.
Councillor Keel?
Based on that, I would move that the Operations Committee endorse and recommend to Council accessing the full balance available in the Community Improvement Plan Reserve to pay out any CIP grants that close in 2026, which exceed the $100,000 budget, stopping there.
Councillor Purcell? That's exactly what I was going to. Okay. So we have, Councillor Jackano, do you have any further comments? Okay, then no further comments. We call the question. Those in favor? Approved. All right, thank you, Heather. Our last item tonight is the 50-plus Senior Active Living Center request for a bench to the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the request here is that the 50-plus Active Living Center purchase and install on the east side of the building a bench within the gated area. A picture was provided in the report. So just a little bit of background. The city installed some locks on the inside of the gate at the back entrance, so where the grind is. So there is an entrance in the rear there that both the grind and the Senior Plus get access. But the lock is on the inside, so no one coming in that back entrance can access that fenced-in area. There already is a bike rack in the rear, and there's some plantings that they would like to attend to, because they have a few gardeners in their group. So, the other thing that we were recommending was that if council is agreeable to this, is that we just amend the lease to include this fenced-in area as their permitted use. So currently, their lease agreement just incorporates the first and second floor of the portion of Victoria Hall, which is associated to the Senior Plus. But what we do is amend the lease agreement to include this fenced-in area. So just open up to any questions.
Councillor Keel?
One question, and then I probably have a motion. Do we use this area for anything? I mean, I know I've been in there. We built the fence. I say we as in the city built the fence there. You can only access it through the senior center. So is there anybody but the senior center using this particular area?
No, it's strictly utilized by the senior center, and currently right now it's not very utilized. So it's basically an unused space. Okay. But there is no purpose for the city of Pembroke.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is, I know a couple years back, we did in this similar location, we dealt with a tenant, wanting to use an aspect of the property outside of their leased area. I think this is different. They are coming to us ahead of time. They're asking permission. In this particular case, especially having toured it, I, as the CAO said, I didn't think anybody could or would be using it. I don't feel the need to micromanage it, so I'm just going to move a motion that committee agrees in principle to add this this exterior space to their existing lease. I don't feel the need to talk about the bench and that because I don't really want to micromanage where a bench goes or where flowers go. If this is part of their lease, then they can do as they wish, and I don't want to come back for an extra bike rack and everything else that might happen. So I would just move that we recommend that this be added, this exterior fenced-in area be added to the lease for their use.
Mayor?
I would second the motion, and just in terms of a comment, so I wholeheartedly support what the motion is, but so that members of council know, when I see the photo and that it's narrow, I had made certain contact with staff in terms of like from a fire perspective as to whether there was any concerns, but I understand there's not, Mr. Unruh?
Yeah, like so through the planning department, one of the things that they made comment is that definitely this area could not be used for like say a smoking area, just because of the proximity to the entrances. And the fire department has taken a look at it, and they had no concern with a base or a bench being placed there.
Okay, so I have a motion and a seconder. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor? Approved. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Keel, as mayor. We are adjourned. Thank you.
everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order for May 19th. I would ask those who wish and are able to please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in relation to this council meeting in open? Seeing none. Oh. Councillor
I
Plummer?
had to be quick there. Tender award number 7B as Operation Community Tender Award number T260697 for River Road, as my employer is the awarder, being awarded.
Thank you. Noted. Okay, that brings us to minutes. First up is approval of the minutes of council, regular meeting of council, May 5th, 2026. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is adoption of minutes of committees, Operations Committee, April 21st, 2026. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? That is carried. And lastly is receiving minutes from local boards. Pembroke Heritage Murals Committee, May 6, 2026. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. Brings us to staff and committee reports. First up is Operations Committee Tender Award 236541 Isabella Street Catchment Area. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Operations Committee of Council begs report and committee for its meeting held this evening as follows. Move myself, seconded by Councillor Giacono, that tender number 236541 for the Isabella Street Catchment Area Phase 3 be awarded to the Lemieux Excavating Inc. in the amount of $2,214,995 plus HST, and additional expenditure in the amount of $200,000 be approved for contingency allowance. The total value of the recommendation equal to $2,414,995 plus HST.
So moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Giacono, the tender number 236541 of the Isabella Street Catchment Area Phase 3 be awarded to Lemieux Excavating in the amount of $2,214,995 plus HST, and the additional expenditures in the amount of $200,000 be approved for contingency allowance for the total value recommendations of $2,414,995 plus applicable HST. Councillor Plummer?
Yes, the description is self-explanatory. This is works being completed on Isabella Street. The works consist of water, sewer, and stormwater replacement, as well as hard surface and sidewalks.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Brings us, so Councillor Plummer is leaving the table. Next one is Operations Committee Tender number 26-0697-02 River Road Resurfacing. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of Council. Your Operations Committee of Council begs to report and recommend from its meeting held this evening as follows. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Keel. The recommendation being that tender number 26-0697-02 for the River Road Resurfacing Town Line Road to Bell Street be awarded to Greenway Paving Limited in the amount of $482,438.80 plus HST, and that additional expenditures in the amount of $50,000 be approved for a contingency allowance. The total value of the recommendations equal $532,438.80 plus applicable HST, and awaiting your signature, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Keel. The tender number 260697-02 for the River Road Resurfacing Town Line Road to Bell Street be awarded to Greenwood Paving Limited in the amount of $482,438.80 plus HST, and that additional expenditures in the amount of $50,000 be approved for the contingency allowance for a total value of recommendations equaling $532,438.80 plus applicable HST. Councillor Giacono.
Your Worship, discussed earlier, it's highway and road improvement into our city, which will benefit everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, those in favor? That is carried. Next is proclamations. So I do hereby declare that the week of May 17th through to the 23rd, 2026 is National Public Works Week, rooted in service, powered by community in the city of Pembroke. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of people of the city of Pembroke. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our city's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our ratepayers. And whereas it is in the public interest for the ratepayers, municipal leaders, and youth of the city of Pembroke to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas it be promoted to the Ontario youth that a career in municipal public works is varied and rewarding, regardless of whether a student is planning on attending college or university or wants to join the workforce right after high school. There are many opportunities in public works. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the Canadian Public Works Association. So as indicated in the proclamation, this year marks the 66th anniversary of National Public Works Week. The theme this year, rooted in service, powered by community. It may not be clear to the public how their lives are touched in many regards by public works. As I've explained countless times, municipalities are the closest level of government to the public, and I wish to take this opportunity to encourage our youth to consider a great profession with any number of local municipalities. And so now, therefore, I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through to the 23rd as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the Canadian Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health and safety and advance quality of life for all. That brings us to bylaws. First up this evening is 2026-47, Bear Invest Extension Agreement. Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2026-47, a bylaw to authorize the Mayor and Chief Administrative Officer to enter into an agreement with Bear Invest Limited, be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keel and seconded by Councillor Lafreniere that bylaw 2026-47, a bylaw to authorize the Mayor and Chief Administrative Officer to enter into an agreement with Bear Invest Limited to be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, this bylaw pertains to a subdivision agreement extension of 1 year for a subdivision in the city's West End.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Second and last bylaw for this evening is 2026-48, Restricted Acts Lame Duck Bylaw. Councillor Lafreniere.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Troy Purcell, that bylaw 2026-48, a bylaw to authorize the delegation of authority to the Chief Administrative Officer for certain acts during a lame duck period, be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Lafreniere and seconded by Councillor Purcell that bylaw 2026-48, a bylaw to authorize the delegation of authority to the Chief Administrative Officer for certain acts during a lame duck period, be adopted and passed, and further the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Lafreniere.
Yes, a lame duck is a restricted acts bylaw, and it sets out the limits on what council may do during a lame duck period under the Ontario Municipal Act 2001. This period applies when, based on the official list of candidates and/or election results, fewer than 3/4 of the current members of council will remain in office. During that time, council is restricted from appointment or removal of any officer and/or employee of the municipality, including appointing or removing any officers, disposition of real property above $50,000, and incurring liabilities above $50,000. Restrictions do not apply if an item was included in the most recent budget or adopted by council prior to nomination day. The bylaw delegates authority in advance to the CAO to address matters that are restricted during a lame duck period for continuity of operations. The delegation of authority expires November 17th, 2026, when the newly elected council is sworn in. Okay.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next up is correspondence. There is one item, which is the Murray Street parking petition. I know that Director Sorio was good enough to provide in our package somewhat of a report. Speaking from the chair, and obviously looking to all of council in terms of your thoughts. I have a variety of different questions, and understandably the director is not available this evening. And so what my suggestion is to council is we simply receive the petition at this time, and we can address it at a later time, but I look forward to what council members might have to say. Councillor Keel?
Your worship, I would agree with that position. I too had some questions. I didn't want to bug Director Sorial on vacation. So I would move that we receive the petition, and then perhaps not as a motion, but perhaps staff could advise Ms. Sorial when she returns that we did wish for a fuller report, and perhaps for her to attend before committee.
Great. So we have a motion with some direction attached to it, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Any other comments? Seeing none, those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next is Mayor's Report. So good evening, everyone. I wish to bring forward my Mayor's Report at this time. May 6th, I had the pleasure of meeting with a number of clients and employees from Community Living for the Community Living Month. This was a great opportunity to meet at City Hall and welcome all of them to City Hall and bring to the attention the great work of community living. May 7th, the Highway 17 Extension Advisory Committee met. There was a variety of discussions about a recent meeting with the MTO. Despite recent announcements having been made in Brentford, there appears to be, this project seems to be proceeding slower than anticipated, and a resolution for council and some discussion will be coming forward at a future date in respect to the Highway 17 extension. Later that day, had a lovely opportunity together with Councillor Keel as we met and did some networking at the Holiday Inn Appreciation and Networking event. Great opportunity to meet with our not co-workers, but cohorts, I guess, at the county and others, and have a great discussion. May 8th and 9th, witnessed a number of different councillors at Pembroke Expo, and I just want to commend each and every one of you for assisting with the Expo. I know that staff do an awesome job, but it behooves us as representatives of our municipality to also attend and lend support where we can, and I look forward to comments under councillor updates from those that assisted in one way, shape, or form. May 14th, pleased to attend a grand opening of Alma Sweets with Councillor Keel. All I can say is if you have a sweet tooth, you got to check this place out. It's really tasty, and so welcome to that wonderful couple and to our downtown and welcoming community. May 16th, it was nice to attend with the Deputy Mayor for the opening of the Farmers Market for what will be another great year. Got an opportunity to cut into another loaf of bread. Thank Councillor Keel for attending and certainly welcoming the new executive and all the great folks at the Farmers Market, and it seems to be that it's going to be a fabulous year. And as always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Councillor updates. Councillor Jacquinot. Oh, sorry. Notices of motion. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Your Worship. As everyone would have saw in their package, I just want to briefly give notice of motion. I won't go through the whole thing today. We'll just do a short read, but basically it is asking that council endorse in the year 2027 that the city prepare an economic development strategic plan. And obviously, we'll have more to say when this comes up at the next council meeting.
Thank you, and my apologies. Councillor updates, Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last Wednesday, you and I, who represent the Renfrew County Housing Authority on behalf of the City of Pembroke, had the opportunity to meet at County Council. There was some discussion in regards to a program that will be called Vision Forward, which takes place from 2026 to 2030. And it's to deal with the instability, homelessness, and poverty that's being encountered in Renfrew County, as well as across the province and indeed the country. There seems to be some great inequity when it comes to trying to house people when you have 1,275 units in the city of Pembroke to look after folks that are on limited income or on geared income, and there's a waiting list of 10 years. So, I mean, you don't wait 10 years for a vehicle. Essential, necessities such as housing, that's atrocious. And what is happening at present, from my understanding, is that the province of Ontario will be removing some funding in regards to some of these projects that the County of Renfrew has received to deal with the homeless and to deal with geared income housing. And this goes back probably 25 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, when all of these things were downloaded to us, to the county. And when I say us, we are part of the county structures as far as we support those programs. Mayor Nicholson from Whitewater, as well as Mayor Donahue from Edmundston, had suggested that this be revisited, this agreement be revisited in essence, because we're taking the big hit. And smaller communities, even communities as our size, cannot afford it. We just cannot continue to absorb the shock. We're not a shock absorber on a vehicle. We just cannot continue to absorb the shock. Eventually something breaks. And what is happening now is that we're feeling the full brunt of that. And we're looking around, even within our community, at 524 Nelson Street, located behind the Metro store, where that particular unit of housing is obsolete. It cannot be repaired properly. Good money going after bad. Whereas rebuilding with new essential, amenities such as proper insulation, better windows for insulation, better heating, etc., will help to offset some of the costs. At present, those buildings are those units are in atrocious shape. Some of them are uninhabitable, to be quite honest with you. But we wanted to reassure the residents that live there, half of them are empty. The residents that are living there will not be ousted onto the street. The County of Renfrew will find a place for them. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that. The estimated cost for redoing those buildings is $7 million plus. Not quite sure when that'll go into action, but I just wanted to bring this to you as an up-to-date, Your Worship, and to thank you. I know in your busy schedule as a grandpa to be, I understand you may be a grandpa very shortly, and also within your work, your full-time work as a solicitor. I don't know how you do it. I'm retired. I go to those meetings, and I'm spinning. But I mean, people say I spin quite a bit in many different directions. But Your Worship, I want to bring you and the rest of council up to date on that. I found it quite astounding that we're falling behind the 8 ball when it comes to supporting those within our community that are the most vulnerable. And I mean, a lot of these people work. They don't live there for free. Their income is based on what they make, and it's getting tougher and tougher for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Giacono. Did you wish to speak? I know you alluded to it earlier, but did you want to speak to Mayor Donahue's welcome to his event that's coming up?
I would, Your Worship. Knowing Mayor Donahue, I don't know if he's quite a linguist, and I have a hard time understanding him sometimes because his vocabulary is far beyond my reach, And I said to him, you know, for a farm boy, you've done pretty good. So he's quite eloquent in his conversation. But he asked us to save the date. It's Taste of the Valley at Edmondson Bromley, August 22nd, 2026. It'll be at the Douglas Recreation Complex and St. Michael's School, 5366 Highway 60, Douglas, Ontario. So Mayor Donahue, I promised you I would give you a plug, and we hope to attend. So if you can make it out there. And as we said earlier with our folks that were here about economic development and, you know, selling the area, all these things come into the picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Frenier, and then I have Councillor Keel.
Just a short update. Councillor Purcell and I sit on the Health Committee with shared services with the county. And as you know, they were looking for a site for the new paramedic base to be located in Pembroke. And they are having the property right beside them. So the property that we had originally suggested, they are looking at that now. So that is the property that is, I guess they already own it. It's right beside them. And they are saying that they do believe that there will be space there, but they are having it all looked at and studied. And so that was good news that came out of this week's Health Committee meeting. So.
Thank you. Councillor Keel.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start, Your Worship, with congratulations. I think Councillor Jacquino was out of the room when you let us know that in the last couple hours you became a grandfather, and
You did?
so yes.
That mayor never tells me anything.
A girl or a boy? Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Boy. Good job.
So
Ron Jr.
I think is that a motion,
That's a
Pat?
motion. That's a motion.
It'll be Ron Jr.
That's awesome.
So congratulations, Your Worship. This is, I guess, as we get into the summer, things get pretty busy. On May 7th, I want to thank Your Worship for attending at Festival Hall with myself to welcome Sean McCann, formerly of Great Big Sea, Order of Canada recipient, award-winning musician. And I know after going to the Holiday Inn with His Worship, I went back to Festival Hall, and Sean, after the show, expressed great thanks for that kind of welcome. He said he doesn't usually have council and the mayor show up to his events. So thank you for attending that with me. May 8th and 9th was Expo, and I spent the day and a half there. I want to specifically thank Heather, Elijah, Bethia, Dorian, Joe Brown, whose staff at the PMC were exceptional for those 2 days. Claudia and Megan from Parks and Rec manned the city tent with myself, and Councillor Purcell was there on the Friday. The most successful expo that we have had. Those numbers were confirmed. So, you know, it's a big effort, and once again, I'm glad that I can stand up and talk about the work that our staff does here at the City of Pembroke, because none of these events would happen without their support and without their hard work in getting them going. You mentioned Alma Sweets. I bought a sourdough bread while I was there. It's gone, Your Worship. It was such a nice, they seem to have such a nice family. Their ideas, right now they have a mobile cake topping unit that we experienced, and they're talking about 2 other versions. It's just, it's so nice. I don't know about other councillors. I hear a lot of negativity about our downtown, and I honestly don't know why. Businesses do come and go. Everyone seems to talk about the closures. Nobody seems to talk about the openings. But I know from talking with Bethia that our downtown remains, just as it has been for the last couple of years, in a good place. And for every store that closes, it seems that we're cutting a ribbon not too long after that. And certainly this is a nice addition to the downtown. Not a good addition to any diabetics in the room, but a good addition to the downtown. May 15th, the Alan Jackson Experience at Festival Hall, another couple hundred people attending there. May 16th was the Farmers Market grand opening, and I would say that was packed for a few hours, and I spent some time with some members of the board, and they're very excited about what's coming up this season. And we're already talking about the next season. So certainly Certainly, it's great to see the farmers market continuing to grow and to be as popular as it is. May 17th at Festival Hall, Stars in Motion presented their 2026 solo, duet, and trio showcase. And this was a free event with all donations going to the Walk for Her. So certainly Chantel does a fabulous job with Stars in Motion. The downstairs at Festival Hall was packed because there were no tickets. I'm not sure how many people there, but it was a packed house, and dozens, if not more than 100 kids participating in that event, and they do so well. Upcoming, Your Worship, is the Public Works Open House tomorrow. I'm happy to be a sponsor of that, of the barbecue there, so I certainly hope that people will come out and not just get a sense for our operations department, but to learn a few things. I know last year, I think, was our first, at least in this concept, open house, and I certainly enjoyed my tour of things. On Saturday is the Eras Street Party, so our downtown PBIA is celebrating 50 years. I'm proud to be a sponsor of that event as well. I understand, I believe approval has been given for a street closure. So basically every different block is going to be going through the 50 years of the PBIA. So certainly I invite everyone to come down and attend. I think that's going to be a nice party to kick off our summer season. And then upcoming at Festival Hall this weekend, Friday at 7 o'clock, Saturday at 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and Sunday at 1 o'clock is the Stars in Motion year-end performance titled Prime Time. So this is their big event, and tickets, there's not many tickets left, Your Worship. Obviously the dance recitals are big with the parents and the extended family and everything, but there are still some tickets left for, I think, at least a couple of the shows from what I saw, so I would invite anybody to come out to that. And then May 30th, Adios Dance Studio has their year-end production, Color Me Dance. So lots of stuff going on as we roll into summer, Your Worship.
Thank you. And just to share with council, as Councillor Keel knows, so we were trying to welcome Mr. McCann to Pembroke, and what I got a kick out of is that he said he was pleased to be in Pembroke and so forth, and he says, you're like the East Coast, and it's like, what do you mean by that? Because that could mean a lot of different things, but you're like the East Coast, you're welcoming, you know, it's enjoyable to be here and so forth. So it was nice to hear from someone else's vantage point in terms of tourism and whatnot. Here's a gentleman who comes to the area and he's like, you're like the East Coast, and I love the East Coast. So that was just terrific to hear that. So yeah. Any other councillor updates? Seeing none, I understand, Councillor Purcell, you have a motion to move into a closed session.
That this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board as it relates to recreation facility contract, and B, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried out on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board as it relates to a lease agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board as it relates to a recreation facility contract, and B, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board as it relates to lease agreements. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.